Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review from BrickByBrick, and today we have set number 75255. This is the LEGO Star Wars UCS-ish Yoda, released in 2019 as part of the Rise of Skywalker wave of sets. Even though, this isn't a Rise of Skywalker set, it just, was released alongside the first wave of Rise of Skywalker stuff, and retailed for $99.99 with 1,771 pieces, which is a lot of pieces for a set of that price point. So the price per piece looks exceptionally good. Probably, I haven't looked this up to back it up, but this is probably one of the Star Wars sets with the best price per piece of all Star Wars sets ever. Ages 10 and up, which this one actually was kind of a complicated build. You get actual size of Yoda inside. There's a shot of Yoda there. Look at his back on the back of the box, which makes sense. Nothing on this side really. And in addition to the build there, you get one sticker, which is for that plaque, and then you get this one really thick instruction manual. So, building this is definitely a little bit of a process. And in the back, we do have just this one page of ads that show off all the minifigures and the sets from the wave that this guy was released in. But as far as, size of what we're seeing on the front of the box here, relative to the actual thing, just so you're aware if you see this box in stores, the actual thing is a little bit larger than what you see on the box. So, the front of the box picture is actually pretty good in this case. And here we have the finished model of Yoda. He stands at about 13 inches tall. His lightsaber makes him a lot taller, but like the top of his head, that's about 13 inches. And the top of the lightsaber actually extends out of frame a bit. And there you go, that's the full height of it. So he does have a pretty substantial amount of shelf presence to him. There is a 32 long Technic bar running through this lightsaber. We'll take a look at the lightsaber out of his hands in a minute. This we'll also see towards the end. And just looking at this Yoda here, he's pretty big and pretty well built up. They do use a lot of plates and just stepping of various sizes of plates to build up his robes here. They use the regular brown for the inner robe, and then you got the tan for the outer robe. And they do build in multiple directions. You've got plates facing out every which way. Around the sides here, pretty much all tan, but the shaping is pretty well done, honestly. It looks really good. You do have some interesting building around here to the back, just making the shape of that hood there. And again, from the back here, there's really nothing crazy going on aside from you do have the hood, which does have a little bit of space inside there, so it actually, actually does go down. There's a little bit of depth to it, which, there's really nowhere on the exterior of this model where they skip out. There are some slightly weird spots where there's no studs showing, whereas the majority of it has studs all over the place. Doesn't really bother me too much. Like, it's still got the whole tan color going everywhere, and the studs all over it do help both replicate the look of the kind of rougher cloth, as well as just the fact that they make it look like a Lego sculpture, which I like. Some people may have different opinions on that, but personally, I'm a fan. And you do have the baggy clothing around the arms here, which, it's built up pretty well. You can see inside there slightly that there's really no representation of his arm inside there. It just, once the hand is out of the way, it kind of just turns into a Technic build. You really can't see it unless you're looking really, really closely at that area. But when we get to his hands, his fingers are actually all articulated, even his thumbs up here, which they can't all move super well, like they don't have the largest range of motion, but they do exist, and you kind of have to get them into a good position in order to get them to hold his lightsaber up vertically. The fingers here on the hands can actually rotate in and out as well, because they're on those 1x1 round plates with the bar on the end. And you can fold those up and get a pretty good look out of that. And it's just a pretty well working assembly. The lightsaber is in there attached securely to the hand, So it's not designed to be removed, but you can remove it somewhat easily. And let's see if we can do that real quick. You kind of just have to pull it off of the hand. It is attached with plates, and this piece here is a little bit insecurely attached, you know, without the hands there. And you can kind of just take the hands, kind of fold them in sort of separately. Let's see, we can't really get that. There we go. That's good. And you can kind of just have them standing there with folded hands. But no, we'll take a look at this in a second. And if we move up on the body here, actually, I guess we'll go down first and just look at the feet. The feet, you can change the angles of the toes, adjust them in and out. You got 3 toes on each foot, obviously, facing forwards, and then you'd have the 1 toe facing back. And if we turn Yoda upside down here, we're gonna have to move up so we can see it a little better, and zoom out. You have some slider plates on the bottom which hold him up. The interesting thing about him is that when he has the lightsaber up, these kind of get lifted off the ground as he leans forward. You can also adjust the angles vertically of these toes here a little bit, but that's not really helpful for posing anything. Basically, when you put the lightsaber in his hand, he wants to lean forward like that, which makes him look a little bit insecure. He still will stand up, but it's just a little bit weird. And the one thing that I noticed is that you can counteract that if you really want to by moving his feet from this hole, which is where you're instructed to put them on. If you move it up to here, then he will stand a little bit more sturdily. It'll just look a little bit weirder, and his toes will be a little bit further exposed. So, you know, if you are concerned about him falling over, you can do that, and that should fix it. And the last main section of this model that we have to take a look at is up here on the head. And, you know, with the majority of these, buildable characters, the heads have some sort of special function to them. Yoda doesn't really have that much of a function. He can turn his head side to side like that. That is about the range of motion that you're going to get. You can move it forward a little bit, so he's looking a little bit down. You can move it backwards just the tiniest bit, which doesn't really change the look. But yeah, that's about the extent of the range of motion. It does make him look a little bit more alive, to turn his head, but that's really the extent of what you can do with this thing, which is a little bit unfortunate. It was kind of disappointing that this one didn't really have any special features, really. But, you know, around the back, he's got some hair, which I do like the way that they build up his hair here. It's a little bit asymmetrical. It looks pretty good for the most part. Just a look at the top of his head. You can see a little bit more hair that moves up there. The ears are built up well. They look pretty good. And the front of the face looks pretty respectable for the most part. The eyes can look a little bit weird. I think they look better in person. From this specific, like if you turn it to directly to the side, you sort of see a little bit of the black in there, which is a little bit unfortunate. It would have been nice maybe if they moved that this piece forward just a little bit to try and block that. But the thing that not doing that allows you to do is adjust the angles of the eyelids. You can kind of make them look a little bit more concerned or sincere or sad. And you know, these are a little bit fiddly, but you can get some things to work with them. And the one other thing that I've seen people do to make them look a little bit less weird is just replace those trans black 1x1 round tiles with the brickhead's eyes, and that does a good amount to make this guy just look a little bit more menacing, a little bit more real, and you know. It's a little bit weird just because the brickhead's eyes are a little bit stylized on their own, but, you know, I can't really explain why, basically, but it does work and makes it look a little bit better. But, again, those are one of the harder sections to build, as they are a little bit fiddly, and, you know, you may have to do some careful adjustments to get them to fit right. And here's just a little bit of a look at the lightsaber. This is actually the first time that they've done a, buildable lightsaber in brick system scale since the General Grievous, I think, from a long time ago, that UCS one, and it works pretty well. It's actually pretty sturdy thanks to that Technic brick on the inside, and the fact that they did it in white allows the light to kind of shine around it, and it doesn't really stand out too much. If it was black, I think it would look a little bit weird, but it's pretty sturdy, pretty decently built, and they actually put a little bit of detail into the handle, which is a nice thing for them to have done. And I do like this gray and black section on the very end, but that is a little bit fragile because it's just attached with that bar. So, just a little bit unfortunate. And then again, this piece here will pop off if you have it out of the hands, but it does just attach in onto these studs here, and it works pretty well and looks pretty good. One other thing to note is that the hands are attached via Technic connections, so you can pull them out pretty easily. Again, I guess this would be helpful if you were trying to swap the lightsaber out, or pull it off, or whatever you're trying to do with it. One interesting thing to note, I guess, is also that they are attached via different types of connections. So this one has the 2 Technic pins, and it fits in there. There's actually a little bit of flex to this one, just in the inherent flexibility of the Technic parts. So you can get it to work pretty decently. Holds in, and then the other one over here has a little bit less flex, as it is with just a single Technic axle connection. So it is a little bit sturdier, but you can get them back into a pretty good position relatively easily. And here we have the little UCS style plaque, and this is built the same way as all the other ones have been. You have our image of Yoda here, as well as the information about him, which is mostly accurate. Again, the age is put at 900 years exactly, which isn't quite accurate, but it's not too bad. But he does get attached over here, just with 2 jumper plates, which makes sense. And as far as the figure goes, the single minifigure included is the most recent version of prequel's Yoda with the prequel torso print. So this is supposed to be the same one that the buildable character here is representing, which makes perfect sense, and it would in fact just be weird to do it the other way around. So the torso print is pretty good. It's appeared in a couple of sets since 2016, including the homing spider droid, Yoda starfighter, and the droid gunship from this year as well. And it's perfectly fine. The head print is pretty nice, and it is a pretty well produced figure. I think he does have the regular lightsaber size with the 4 long bar, which does maybe look a little bit too long for Yoda, but again, not too big a deal. And you could replace that with something from your own collection, or you could just de-ignite the lightsaber if you really wanted to, if that bothered you. But this is a pretty good figure, and definitely a fine inclusion, but not a huge draw to the set or anything, obviously. Overall, I think as far as creating a statue of a Star Wars character, this Yoda set is one of the better ones for that. I think that it looks really good, and especially the whole body area, that's fantastically done. The head, the eyes, I can sort of see some of the complaints about, but I do think that it looks a lot better in person than in the official images. So, if you don't own the set and that's stopping you, I don't think that you should let it completely deter you, but, I guess it is something to think about, but you could modify that, as I mentioned earlier. The one thing that's really disappointing about this one to me is that there's no real super great action feature, or like, not necessarily action feature, but like some amount of movement that you're able to give it to sort of bring life to the model. Because that was one of my favorite things about the BB-8 and DO and the Porg ones, is just the amount of posability and the amount of life that they were able to give just a static model. Yeah, this one has the ability to turn the head. That's about it. And I guess a little bit of posing of the fingers and toes. But, compared to the ability to remotely move around BB-8's head and Theo's head, and the ability for the Porg to open and close its mouth, it's just kind of disappointing to me that the amount of building that you do that goes into this, is just basically to build a completely static model that you can't really do anything with. So, in that regard, I'm tempted to say that I don't like this one as much, but it is a really good model. So, I guess it sort of satisfies a different part of what I wanted from this, but I do think that it is a good thing overall. So, in the end, I would recommend it, though not really for the same reasons that I would recommend Dio and the Porg and BB-8. But those are just my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section down below. Do you care that they have removed the ability to kind of remotely operate it? or is this just exactly what you wanted from a Yoda statue type of set? And as far as comparing it to the original one, obviously I don't own that, so I can't do it in person, but I do think that this one is a significantly better update to that original UCS Yoda from the early 2000s. So, hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye, everyone.